Hey guys, back with another video on Notifier. This is going to be going over the sort of latest update that I've been sort of playing around with recently, just running a few beta tests myself, and we're going to be launching this on Tuesday next week, so in 2 days time. So this is Notifier segmentation, which is something that I've been wanting to release for ages now, because it completely changes what's possible with Notifier. So essentially here we're looking at all users. Like I said, this is just in sort of beta stages, so I want to tidy up these IDs and make everything a bit sort of cleaner. But what Notifier will actually do now is identify users on your platform. So here we have like an email address. As long as they've entered the email address and their phone number on the platform, we're actually going to be able to register that and register that it's that unique user. And obviously we have the first name here as well. So if we go into, I'll just show you a quick example of setting up a new segment. So we can choose just to show to custom visitors, whether it's their first time or if they're returning. Number of pages that they've viewed, their browser, and what they're viewing from, where they've come from. Perhaps it's a Facebook referral or a newsletter sign up. You can also exclude IP addresses, such as excluding, perhaps your company IP address or something like that. Now we've made this sort of very dynamic. Like it's a dynamic setup, meaning it's very easy for us to add in new filtering options as we sort of move forward. Before I release this into beta, the only reason I'm holding off from doing this is I would like to release filtering based off of page views. So for example, if a user has visited our dashboard, I'm going to want to display a sort of different notification compared to someone who's a brand new user and has never visited a dashboard. So it means that you can filter people if they've looked at specific products, or if they haven't, maybe you want to push people who haven't over to look at those specific products or special offers. There's infinite ways that we can go about this. So simply all we do is select all of these different things, hit save, close, and we have a new segment. So I didn't set a name for it. That's right. As I said, it's still sort of running. So I've just been testing it out this evening. So here we have a new segment, and it's going to show the segment size and the number of people in there. Based on all of the users that we've tracked on your page and the sort of interactions that they've had, they will automatically be pulled into this segment as well. So yeah, and now to sort of move on from this, I mean, they're just the sort of basic triggers that we have for segmenting the users, but if we want to get sort of very interesting, we can go into custom properties, and for example we could have company name. We could also have perhaps, obviously in SaaS we do monthly recurring revenue, but you could have like revenue for that user if you're doing like e-commerce or something. And we could also send over what other information is sort of very, I'm just trying to think of some sort of quick examples where this is sort of very useful. For, again, just going off sort of my use cases. Failed payment. Select a format, sorry. String. There we go. Okay, so now what is actually possible is to send over via our API. If anyone who doesn't know what an API is, it's an application programming interface, which means you can integrate Notifier with like any other platform. So here I've added what we can do. I can send an example request in another video, but if you're comfortable with code, obviously you're going to know what you're doing here. If not, then we can either use Zapier, webhooks, or for example Stripe have built-in webhooks already for sending this data over. So we're going to be sending over a request over to your specific account, and you'll need your script ID pasted in here, which obviously you can find over here. This is your script ID, and then we know that to add it into your account, the email ID of the user, so we can create a new user, and these are optional, but you can send over a first name, last name, and then based on the custom values that we've just added, so for example company, we would add here key company, and then we would send over their company. So let's say that they work for Instagram, we would send over company Instagram. And so now Notify then almost becomes like a sort of lightweight. So yeah, Notify becomes like a lightweight CRM. So anyone who's familiar with, like, you know, intercom segmentation, where you can use it within sort of onboarding to deliver messages to people who perhaps have performed specific actions or haven't performed specific actions. Notify will have the exact same sort of functionality as that. So this is how we would create a new user, and then they're going to be added into your audience based on the properties that you've given them, and we can also update a user using the same format here. We're just sending it to a different endpoint. So I'm going to make some more videos on like some of the sort of ideas and ways that I'll be using this for onboarding, and also for delivering sort of failed payment notifications within Notifier, and sort of things like that, and promoting sort of special offers and everything like that. Now, going on from there, like, I will also be adding custom webhooks. So next time when we're going to release here, you'll be able to send over, for example, if you wanted to build like a checkout abandonment sequence. So let's say a user has signed up, we've collected their email address and we've collected their first name. Notify will do this automatically from the front end if they've completed specific stages in your checkout or sign up form, but didn't complete the process of actually signing up or purchasing. Notify will collect this information, and we can then display notifications to them in future, and at the same time we can send this over to your like email automation tool, or over to your CRM, or whatever you're using for like email communication, and you can automatically enroll them into a follow-up sequence from there. So Notify will be sort of handling all of the segmentation for you, and then just sending it over into the correct sequence and performing automation from there. So I'll make a lot of videos on. I'm going to record everything that I'm doing myself, in order to make this to build out sort of automation sequences. So I hope that sort of makes sense. This is going sort of slightly more in the more technical direction. Like I'm showing like all of the functionality. Obviously with the API, it gives you huge amounts of flexibility, but you can just collect this data from the front end. It just depends how deep you wish to go with the integration. On top of that, the next thing that I'd like to cover is we have now built in personalization. So any data that is here or in your custom properties that you send over to us is going to be visible within you're going to be able to display in your notifications. So for example, Notifier is now registering my first name, and it's saying, Nathan, we're adding personalization to Notifier. And if I'd also sent over my company name, I can also add that in here. So we now support sort of custom merge tags. So it allows for a huge amount of personalization within your notifications, and makes them sort of far more engaging. Where did I run this test? First name test. So here we have, if you look at the main text that I'm using, we're just simply using merge tags, and it's automatically inputting my name. So this is going to be available to everyone as long as we've collected the first name. If the first name doesn't exist, it will appear blank, and we will also support fallback text in the near future. So you can say, for example, we could say hi there. If we haven't got the first, if it doesn't capture the first name, by default we'll display hi there. So you'll be able to enter custom sort of backup options in case we don't collect this data. So these are some. I'm sort of really happy with this, to be honest. We're now sort of going in the direction of sort of like a very sort of lightweight CRM that allows you to interact across multiple different channels. Another thing that I'm going to be looking into building here, which shouldn't take too long actually, is so here we're tracking all of our users, and I would like to add in sort of built-in enrichment, so it will also display the location of where the visitor is coming from based on their IP address. So perhaps they're coming from Los Angeles in US, or they're coming from Berlin, Germany. All of this information will be sort of displayed to you here. And also I'm going to add in, like, either if I can find a service that we're able to use that is affordable and we're able to roll this out to everyone, of a sort of built-in company enrichment. So if anyone's familiar with like Clearbit Enrich, Albacross, or like Lead Feeder, something along those lines, where it tells you the companies that are looking at your website based on their IP address, I'm going to add in something like that, where it's going to automatically enrich all of your website visitors. I also want to support some like custom APIs. For example, Full Contact is a really interesting API which it enriches any companies that views. So we would have to provide them with who the actual company is, but then it will return back the LinkedIn profile, like if it can find it, Twitter profile, Instagram profile, Facebook, and any email addresses. Obviously we'll have their email already, but then, as I said, based on the custom webhooks that we'll have, you could then, like, I'm going to build out a few like Integromat sequences for automating follow-ups on like LinkedIn, Twitter, and over email, of course. And I may even sort of make these public, so you can just sort of copy the workflows and playbooks, and anyone who Notifier catches on your website, anyone that is enriched, will send over and we'll enroll them into an automatic sequence across social media and email. So yeah, this is like I said, sort of personalization is now here, segmentation is now here, and we're going to have more properties coming up, such as sort of page views and things like that. We're also going to be, I think it's actually possible already. I'll have to play around with the API a little bit more, but you could do custom event tracking. Like, for example, if a user installs their script on Notifier, I can, in fact, yeah, this is available. If a user installs their script on Notifier, I can send this data over to that exact user and move them into a segment for script installed or script not installed, and then I could display an onboarding pop-up if they haven't installed their Notifier pixel, saying like, this is how you do it, maybe delivering a guide and things like that. So yeah, and we could also track things like custom events. Has a user clicked a specific button? What is their planned usage? This is going to be more for SaaS, but in e-commerce, you could send over how many items they've added into their cart. So these are just like a few examples off the top of my head, and you know, as I sort of continue to sort of play around with it and build out more and more sequences, both for myself and for clients, I'm going to be sort of very happy to sort of share those with everyone. I mean, really, the only sort of limit here is your imagination, and of it, I'm sort of coming up with ideas based on my business model, but there are a million different ways that we can sort of take advantage of this, and I really believe like personalization is going to be the biggest thing in sort of 2020. So I'm sort of really happy to say that we're now able to offer the sort of personalization. You could also, another example I thought of is if we're enriching locations, you could put, for example, welcome from and then location, and it will say welcome from France. Another interesting growth hack would be, instead of saying like hello, we could automatically translate that into the user's custom language. So if they're coming from France, we could say bonjour, and so on. So that would be a really interesting sort of way to engage people. But yeah, I just thought I'd share this this sort of little video with you just to show you sort of where we're at with it. Like I said, we're going to be releasing this in 2 days on Tuesday, and it's going to be up on sort of Product Hunt. And yeah, if you have any questions, any ideas, suggestions, things that you'd like to see added, things you'd like to see us sort of tracking automatically, I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, once we do release it, I'd also love to hear your sort of thoughts and feedback, and how you get along with it, and particularly how you're implementing it in your business. Because I'm sure that we have some very smart people using Notify. I'm sure that there'll be some very creative ways that people implement this. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and have a great day.